Hello and welcome into the Retirement Playbook brought to you by Alspaugh Wealth Management. I am your host here every week with you, Brock Alspaugh. And we also are joined by our co-host every week, Mr. Tony Shore.
Yes.
Hello, Tony.
Yes, we're going to have a great show today, Brock. I am
love your
excited
energy.
about today's show because this is the time of year when we need to make sure we've got all our ducks in a row. We
Oh,
need to
yeah.
look at that year-end checklist. I know you've got a lot of information for us. But
Oh, yeah.
first, if I was any better, my name would be Brock Alspaugh.
Oh,
Let's
I
put it
don't.
that way.
No. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. You got a pretty good life there, buddy. Anyway, listen, I am so excited for both of ours, not just me, Tony. I know
Okay.
it's your favorite time of the year, man. It's coming up. It's the
Yep.
fall,
Fall.
right?
My
It's not
favorite
quite
time
here
of the
yet.
year.
I think when we're recording this, it's like 90 degrees today, so it
I know.
doesn't quite feel like fall.
Hasn't hit quite yet.
Yeah. But anyway, it's coming up, and I'm super excited about it. But you know what else comes with fall, folks? It comes with year-end financial planning tips, and that's what we're going to talk about today on today's show. And so we'll get into this in a few minutes. But before we do, I want you to go to our website, folks. It's alspaughwealthmanagement.com, ALSPAUGH, wealthmanagement.com. You can check out past shows by category. You can order my book. You can do a lot of things to help yourself. There's a ton of information, okay? And you can get it by going to our website. You can also, if you're saying, you know what, Brock, I've listened to you. I've seen you on the radio. I've seen you on TV. Well, you didn't see me on the radio, but you heard me on the radio. And I just feel like I need to do something. I need help developing a plan, okay? You're not alone, folks. Just give us a call, 573-332-7855. Or again, you can request that consultation with me on our website. Listen, it's information is only as good as what you do with it, right? You can have
Right.
all the great information in the world, but if you don't ever do anything about it to improve your situation, then it does no good. So take the first step and get a consultation today. All right, Tony, like I said, favorite time of the year, the fall coming up, weather-wise, football, which we've already started. We're 3 weeks into the season here. And it's the Chiefs are 2-0. That's good. Listen, I love fall.
Vikings are 2-0 too. I want to
That
point
is
out.
unbelievable, by the way. I did not expect that.
Yeah, we're looking good. Nobody did.
You didn't either, did you?
You know what? I always hold out hope. I try to stay positive when it comes to my team, but this year they'd pretty much written us off. But
Yeah.
so far, so good.
Okay, well, let's get right to it, Tony. We're going to talk about year-end financial to-do lists. We got a few things
Okay.
for you to think about and to talk about, and then also to act upon. Again, we want action, folks. Words are only as good as, they're not. You got to act on things to really make it meaningful. So the first thing we're going to talk about when it comes to the year-end financial to-do list is reviewing your spending habits. And then use that review, Tony, to help you build a stronger 2025 budget. A few weeks ago, we talked about, coming into fall and, getting out of summer. And some of us are looking at our budgets going, probably busted the budget a little bit in this past summer by spending a little more money than we planned on doing.
Right.
And listen, we can't go back and fix that, right? You already spent those dollars. Let's get over it, but let's do something about it to fix it. That's the point. Okay. We have to also, when we're talking about our spending, look at things like inflation. Inflation has come down from those crazy, crazy highs of 9%, but it's still there and it's still affecting people and their income and ultimately their discretionary spending. And then ultimately, again, their their savings levels. So it is biting into savings levels. There's no doubt about it. But what we need to do then, if that is the case, is maybe look at some of these discretionary areas that we can save on, right? And not spend as much money on those family vacations, trips to the movies, all of these things that we can kind of control, right? You can't control
Right.
what your mortgage is.
Nope.
You can't control what gas prices are doing. I mean, you can shop around and try to get the lowest price, but you got to have gas for your vehicle. So, those are things that, you really, it's hard to find savings, I guess is really what I'm saying, Tony, there. And so these are very important things. Tony, we have a questionnaire that we make everybody fill out before they come and see me, just to get a diagnosis of where they're at, or not diagnosis, more of just their current picture, and then
Sure.
that way we can help them see the end goal there. But the point is that the most important question that we ask on our questionnaire is, what does it take to maintain your lifestyle? Okay. In other words, how much money do you spend? Because it doesn't matter how much money you make. You can make $1 million a year, but if you spend $1 million a year, it doesn't matter, right? Because you're not able to save any money. You're not doing the things you should be doing. If so it's not about how much money you make. It's really not about how much money you have saved. You might think you're doing good if you have $1 million saved up in retirement accounts. And that is good for a lot of people. But for some people, it's not near enough. Okay. So the point is that what we're talking about here with your spending is the most important contributor to your success and or failure of your financial plan. Okay. So really focus on, spending, staying within a budget, and also making sure that we have an emergency fund. Okay. We got to have that emergency fund so we don't use any credit cards or anything like that, or dip into some of the savings that are meant for longer term. We got to have an emergency fund for that reason. So great time of year to look at that budget. How is it going? Is there anything that's standing out within your spending so far this year? That's where you can start by saying, okay, this is standing out. Like, we spent way too much money on eating out. We got to really focus on the last 3 months here of cutting it down and not spending as much money in those categories. Okay.
Yeah. So basically reviewing where you're at.
Exactly. No, that's exactly right,
So
Tony.
you know where you need to go moving forward before the end of the year. Yeah.
Exactly. So, one of those things is part of that budget, Tony, and this is the second thing that I want to talk about, is your debt. What kind of debt do we have? Do we have any credit card debt? Obviously, those are typically very high in interest. Some people do the 0% for a year because they bought a one-time purchase. I can understand that. But don't say that, okay, well, we're going to do the 0 interest because we really don't have enough money in the bank, or, you don't want to touch your emergency fund. So there are reasons to consider doing something like that. But typically, Tony, what I would say is, don't even do it. Just do it. Just pay the cash and be done with it. Okay. The amount of money over a year's time that you're going to save on a $10,000, purchase by having 0% versus paying cash, and then ultimately running the risk of something happening where it's a year's up and I still got a balance, and now all of a sudden I'm going to owe all of this interest. So it's just, my point is, just pay the cash for it. Okay. And so the other part of that is, if you got car loans, what interest rates those are at, this week announcing, interest rates. And, the feeling is, Tony, is that interest rates will be coming down. Now, at what point does that offer you a refinancing option? Whether it be a car loan or your mortgage. Typically, you would look at that for your mortgage, right? And typically what I'd say is, like, hey, with all the fees and whatnot, a lot of times you got to be at least 1.5 points lower on a mortgage. And a lot of times 2% would be a more preferable time to refinance to make it worth it, depending on how much, how long you're going to go out with that. But so there's definitely variables there, but that's just kind of general rules. So, debt is part of the budget a lot of times, making the debt service payments on whatever debt you have. So, try to be as efficient in that area, I guess is the point, Tony, as possible as well. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's get rid of that debt. Let's get rid of that debt in 2025. If you've got credit card debt, if you've got car loans at high interest rates, let's focus. Let's get extra payments on that debt. Let's get it paid off in 2025. Let's go. Let's go. I'm pumped up, Tony. I'm ready. I got a bell. I want to ring the bell for people paying off their debt.
Yeah, really. Yeah, that would be great. I know that, that's fun. Getting debt paid off is huge, though. And obviously, you alluded to credit purchases, like 0% interest. don't fall for that. It might not be the way to go. And you definitely want to eliminate credit card debt if at all possible. Right now, the rates are at record highs. A
Yeah.
lot of credit cards are at 30% interest,
Yes.
which is just outrageous.
It's insane.
There's going to be no way to get ahead of it if you get too deep in credit card debt at
So
30% interest.
can we, percentages, people oftentimes, I think, Tony, don't relate percentages to what that equals in a dollar amount.
An actual dollar amount.
That's right. So $10,000 of credit card debt at 30% interest is $3,000 per year.
Yeah,
You're paying in just interest.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. And
that's extra. So you bought $10,000 worth of goods, and now you're agreeing to say, "Hey, I'm going to pay an extra $3,000
in 1 year." So let's say
within a year, and that carries over,
right?
Yeah.
And so if it takes you 2 years to pay it off, I mean, obviously, hopefully you're decreasing your principal. So if you do, it's going to be less than this. But if you kept it at the 10,000, that's going to cost you $6,000. 60% of what you purchased originally is what it's going to cost you in just interest if you don't pay any of that principal down.
Yep.
Wow, that's insane.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Tony.
Yeah, it is. It is. And it makes me wonder how they can get away with it, because at some point, it's no different than loan sharking. I mean, I guess we haven't heard about MasterCard or Visa sending anyone to your house to break your arm if you don't pay. But other than that, those interest rates are basically the same as, money from the mob. I mean, that's nuts. 30% interest.
Yeah, it's crazy. Anyway, okay, let's stop talking about the negative stuff. Let's move on to more positive stuff.
Right.
Which is your emergency fund. I want to hit on that again because I want to get specific with that. Okay. Tony, not everybody. I get this question a lot. Okay, I don't have as much as I should for emergencies, but I've got credit card debt. So what should I do? Should I pay off the credit card first and then get my emergency fund? And a lot of times, my answer is this: split it in half. Right? If you've got $5,000 short in your emergency fund, and you got $5,000 worth of credit card debt, if you have $500 extra a month, okay, put $250 at each, right? Put $250 at each, and let's try to get both of them down the credit card debt down and the emergency account built up as fast as possible without really risking not having any money at all.
Yeah.
And
some people might say, well, why not get the credit card debt paid down first? Because if you have another emergency, like the refrigerator breaks down,
all you're going to do is add to the debt,
or your AC, then you're going to have to put it on the credit card or be tempted to put it on the credit card, and that's going to grow, and that's going to be worse. So you've also got to, at the same time, have an emergency fund built up as well.
Yeah, for sure, man. For sure. So let's get specific on this. So what I normally recommend, Tony, is anywhere from 4 to 6 months of your expenses. So if your expenses are $5,000 per month, right? And remember, that's a net number of your income. And what I mean by that is you got to pay taxes on your income. That is a net number, right? $5,000 a month times 4 months, that's $20,000. Really, if you go 6 months, that's $30,000. So you should have somewhere between $20,000 and $30,000 if your monthly expenses are $5,000. I like to have that. I know some people say less. I like to be conservative in everything that we do, for projection-wise to savings levels to all of this. Because I feel like if you are conservative in this approach, that if it works out better, great. If not, you don't want to overpromise on returns or anything like that. So I tend to be conservative on a lot of things when it comes to the financial planning world. Okay, so 4 to 6 months of your expenses. Now, talking about savings, let's take it a step further, Tony. This is a huge one. We all know about this. We talk about it all the time. Is your 401k, right? Your 401k. Make sure that we're saving enough in that 401k. Now, here's the problem, Tony. Not many people know what saving enough is. What does that mean? It's different for everyone, right? It might be anywhere from maxing out the absolute maximum of $30,500 if you're over 50, all the way down to it may only be $1,000 a month. Well, it's based off of you and your lifestyle, okay? And then, of course, your income and the ability to do it at the appropriate level that you need to do it at. So it first starts with, what does your lifestyle look like? What kind of income do we need to create in retirement to help you can maintain your lifestyle throughout your retirement once you get there? And then we can put a big number associated with that. In other words, okay, we need this X amount of income. How much money do we need to have at retirement to do that? Okay, and to supplement Social Security, hopefully, Tony, hopefully supplement Social Security. You catch my drift there? Social Security, hey, I think you're muted there, Bubba.
I'm laughing. I had to mute because I was laughing so hard.
Okay.
You made it funny. No, it's Social Security is obviously the foundation, but you're going to need more. You can't live on Social Security.
Yeah, exactly. So at a minimum level there, folks, getting specific on what you should do, which is absolutely no question. I don't care what we tell you to do or how much you need to save. If that doesn't equal the total amount to get the 100% of the match that your company may offer,
it
doesn't matter. You got to get 100% of the match. That's free money. Okay. So if you have a little extra in retirement because you don't quite need to get to that or save that much money, which, by the way, I never see happen, right? Most people need to do at least what the company will match anyway.
Yeah.
That's really never an issue. But
you have to be putting in at least as much to get the full match, because some people put in, well, I'm getting a match. I put in enough to get a match, but are you putting in enough to get the full amount of the match? And then you should always be putting in more. That's the very least you should. Right.
Yeah. No question. No question, Tony. All right. So, by the way, if you we're talking about year-end things that you need to be thinking about to get ready for 2025.
Yeah.
As far as the budget is concerned, savings levels, debt service, those kinds of things. If you do get a year-end bonus, right, or if you get some kind of Christmas bonus, right, you might think about putting that in your 401k, right? If you're not there, if you haven't been able to do it, maybe you didn't, you weren't able to get to the number that you need to get at from an annual savings point of view. This would be a great opportunity to do that. Okay, so think about doing that into your 401k if you get a year-end bonus. All right, Tony, we're moving right along here. We're just talking about year-end things that people need to do or think about. Kind of like Tony said, more of a review of your spending is hugely, hugely important. Looking at your budget and seeing if you're on track for 2024, and then what corrections can you make to get yourself through the end of the year, number one, and then number two, really have a successful year in 2025. Also, talking about credit card debt or any other kind of, debt outside of your mortgage, trying to get that paid off as fast as possible, obviously, building that emergency fund. These are all basic things that we talk about all the time, Tony. But this is a great time of year. Kids are back in school, and, it gives you some freedom maybe to sit down and really get this, review this and make sure it gets right for the fourth quarter and beyond. All right. Tony, the next one I have for you is, if your income is down a little bit this year, maybe you've got some losses that you're realizing on some things. Maybe your income is just down compared to previous years. You might think about, doing some Roth investing, right? So if you've always done kind of the traditional route, you might think about Roth investing. You might even think about doing some Roth conversions if your income is down.
So when you say Roth investing, are you talking about a Roth IRA or Roth 401k and putting money into that versus the traditional 401k or traditional IRA?
Yeah, so that's exactly right, Tony. So investing in the traditional gives you the IRA or 401k gives you that pre-tax option, which is basically tax deductible, contributions. And the Roth, you don't have that. And so the point is if your income is down this year, which I haven't heard a lot of this, this is for probably very few people, but if your income is down and you have a odd year where it's significantly lower than usual, then you can put it in after tax in a year that you're not going to be taxed very high on your income, right? So put it in after tax because you're not paying as much taxes in a lower income year. Okay. So that's something to consider. Okay.
Yeah.
You've got time, right? That's why we talk about these things at the end of September. So, you got time to do these things. Okay. How about assessing your present asset allocation, Tony? Big one here. Good timing on this topic.
You
Why?
mean where your money is at?
That's right. Asset allocation. Where's your money invested in your 401k? Do you even know how it's invested in your 401k?
Sure.
Some statements are really good about breaking it down about how much you have in each kind of sector, large cap growth, large cap, blend, mid cap, small caps, international emerging markets, all of these different ways that you can invest your money. And so this is a very timely topic here because I've talked about this a lot lately. Because the stock market has done so well, okay, stocks, your more aggressive money, has outpaced your more conservative money significantly in the last, say, 20 months.
Yeah.
Okay. So, what are we doing about it? Is your plan at work, your 401k plan, set up to do what we call annual rebalance, to where it's rebalancing your assets on an annual basis? Sometimes they offer quarterly or even monthly, but it's very important that if you're not set up on an automatic way to rebalance, that you do it yourself. And so that's another reason why it's so important to work with a financial services professional to make sure that you are on track with how you are invested in your 401k so you can reach your goals. Okay. It doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter where you're at. You just need to be balanced according to your risk tolerance, according to your time horizon. So all of this is very customized. There's no, oh, hey, I'm 25, I'm going to be super aggressive, or hey, I'm 45 and I'm going to be, super aggressive too. It's everybody's different. Okay.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's important to get an individual customized plan.
Right. And I just want to state that, you started by saying, sometimes your 401k gives you statements that are very detailed, but even so, people just their eyes glaze over when you
That's
look
right.
at that. And
Yep.
when it comes to asset allocation, people are like, oh, you're throwing out terms. Does it really matter for me? I've done just fine. You really need to work with a trusted financial services professional who does this all the time. And Brock, I know this is what you love to do. You love to help
Yeah,
people
I
and
do.
say, hey, you're allocated here and here, you're doubled up here. You could do much better by doing this and this and this. Suggest changes they might make. And if they don't want to or don't want to work with you, it's no big deal. But that consultation, there's no charge or obligation.
Right.
It's
Right.
just time and it's educational. So I would encourage our listeners to do that because you don't
Do you
want
know a
to
guy?
get
Do you
him.
know a guy, Tony? Do you know a guy?
You know what? I'm not going to name names, Brock Alspaugh, but I know a guy. And the same with those. If you want to do a Roth conversion, don't do that you're going to do that for me. I'm not
For
going to
sure.
do that
For sure.
because I could make costly mistakes.
Yeah, 100%, Tony. And, again, you're right. People get these statements, they're glazed over, they don't really understand. But what they do understand is, oh, wow, I've done really good this year so far. And I did really good last year. And that's great, folks. But here's the problem. You might be too aggressive because your stocks, your more aggressive money has done better than your conservative money. So we need to balance it out. And that's called rebalancing your portfolio. And you can normally get that set up on an automatic basis, but how do you know? Check it out. Make sure that it is. And if it's not, fix it. We
Get a
can help you do that.
review once a year, and this is the best time of year to do that because what if there are tax implications, like with a Roth conversion? You want to do these things before the end of the year. Now, Brock, we're almost out of time, so let our listeners know before we go how they can get a hold of you to set up that consultation, maybe even get a copy of your book.
Yeah, absolutely. Give us a call here at Alspaugh Wealth Management, 573-332-7855. Or you can contact us from our website. It's right at the top of our website, Alspaugh Wealth Management, and you can click the button that request a consultation. And we will get notified and we'll reach out to you and we'll just have a conversation about what you're doing. How's your life? How can we help? If there's anything we can do, great. Let's take it a step further and get together in a live meeting. So there you go. Give us a call or look us up on the web. Otherwise, have a wonderful weekend.
All right. Thank you, Brock. And listeners, thanks for tuning in. That does it for today's episode of the Retirement Playbook with our host, Brock Alspaugh.